You could sell it with owner finance on a wrap note. You could do a fix and flip. You could do a wholesale assignment of your contract, which I do not recommend. And let me just tell you why. And I say that I'd encourage you not to do it, but it just depends on who you're talking to, what you know about them, and so forth. But the thing I want you to think about here is when you do a subject to deal, the thing that's at risk for you is your credibility. Are you going to do what you said you would do that you told the seller you would do? Okay. If you assign that contract to somebody else that don't know what they're doing, if you don't know them and they made you great promises and they don't have a clue what they're doing, whose reputation is the seller going to be upset with? It's going to be you, not that investor that you assigned your contract to. So if I tell the seller I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I'm not telling you that I wouldn't ever assign a subject to contract to somebody, but I would certainly be very selective, and I want to know who that person is and do they really know what they're doing. Okay. You could also retail it. So you have all these different choices to do with a subject to deal. And I've done most of those. I've done the flips. I don't do Airbnb. And I don't think that's a good exit strategy in today's market anyhow. So, but I've done, buy subject to and rent them, buy subject to and wrap them. I've done buy subject to and lease option them back before the laws changed. So I've done pretty much all those things. And you can too. You just have to evaluate all those different exit strategies. And we'll talk about some of those during the workshop. If the lender calls the mortgage due, what should you do? Of course, the first thing you're going to do is panic, right? If you got the letter in the mail or the seller got a phone call and the seller called you upset and ranting and raving and worried, the first thing you're going to naturally do is panic. But here's what I would tell you. Be calm. The first thing you want to make sure is know your facts. Is the payment current or is it in default? Do they have a leg to stand on? Or have you missed the boat and missed the payment? Or if you had a third party servicing company involved in making the payments, is the payment paid? That's the first thing you're going to want to do. Make sure you know. If it's in default, you need to fix it and don't let it happen again, because this isn't a guarantee, but I'm going to say that more than likely, if it was in default, they're going to stop calling you or sending letters if you bring the payment current. Just take care of it and then take a deep breath and relax. Okay. Now, if everything's good, and you confirmed all your payments are current, you haven't missed any, you haven't been late, and the payments are current on it, and your taxes are current, hopefully it's escrowed, but just make sure that everything is good. One, I would ignore it first off, but I would, if you ever talk to them, I would say, go ahead, call it due. And, the reason I say that is, I've talked to a lot of attorneys about this and a lot of investors. It's a very expensive undertaking for them to call a loan due. It has to be in default. And they don't have much of a leg to stand on if you have solid payment history. Of course, this is going to require an attorney, so you're going to be spending money at this point if they insist on calling it due and accelerating that mortgage. But you're going to have to hire an attorney. And I've had attorneys tell me that they would have a hard time justifying calling it due if the payment history is solid and it's always been paid on time. Doesn't mean they can't and won't, but I would take my grounds. If I've got solid payment history, I know it's been paid on time. If they keep insisting on calling it due, I would end up calling my attorney and let's just go to court. In the meantime, make sure the payments are kept current. That's just me. It's not legal advice. This is just what I would do. Okay? Call your attorney. What can cause you to lose sleep at night? Over-promising and under-delivering. I can't stress enough here for you to make sure that you do not mislead your sellers on what you're going to do, when you're going to pay off the loan, how quickly that's going to happen and so forth. Don't do it. Most sellers that I've dealt with are appreciative of understanding what it is I'm doing and when I'm doing it. And I actually have two people right now, two sub-2 deals I've had for over 11 years. 11 years. And I hear from them about once a year to call and check in or email and check in and say, how's it going? When you paying off my loan? And I give them an update. If I haven't already done it earlier, I give them an update on where we stand, and I don't hear from them again. Okay. Out of the 20 years of doing this, I've only had one person that got pushy, and he was kind of that way from the very beginning. And I probably shouldn't have done the deal with him. Like I was telling you earlier, you want a cooperative seller. But we got it done. We ended up rehabbing the house after my tenants, and I had owner finance buyers in that defaulted and had to take the house back. And so anyhow, we rehabbed it and we got it sold and paid off, and he was happy. But just again, the point is, don't overpromise. Don't be telling sellers you're going to pay it off in a year. Don't be promising them something you can't control. Now, if you are independently wealthy and you have lots of cash and you want to pay it off in a year, go for it. But other than that, don't overpromise something. Don't mislead them. Don't tell them it's going to be soon. Okay, be honest with them and realistic on what the timeline is going to be. The lender calling the loan due, well, that could cause you to lose some sleep at night. But like we said in the earlier slides, go do your homework, find out what the real status is. And, the one case that I had where we received a letter was because the owner finance buyer, when I sold it, this is the one and only home I've ever sold that was not escrowed. I let the buyer take care of taxes and insurance, and he didn't. And he went and got a tax loan to take care of taxes 1 year. Then he defaulted on the tax loan. And those guys don't waste any time. And they filed foreclosure. Naturally, the lender saw it. They got excited. They submitted a letter, told the original seller. They noticed his name's not on public records, and he had 30 days to solve it. Well, all we did is went and paid off the tax lien and brought the payments current, and that satisfied everything. We did go rehab the house and sell it and paid it off. So that took care of everything, but we never heard again from them once we brought those payments current. Your buyer or renter misses payments. For some people that'll keep you up. But, you got to have a system in place, a team in place that can handle these kind of things. And you just got to take affirmative action. By the way, do not stick your head in the sand on these things. If something's going on, you need to take action. don't be like the sellers. A lot of the sellers stick their head in the sand and don't take action, and that's why they end up in default and losing the home. As a real estate investor in your business, you need to take action on these things and not put them off. The seller is forgetting what you're doing for them. Well, I mentioned that earlier. The more time that goes by, the less they remember, right? So you might consider giving them a written letter on, an overview of what the deal is and what you're going to do for them. Frequent communications is highly recommended with them so that they know your name and number and phone number and email, and you can remind them of things, giving up an update on the house maybe once a year or something, on how things are going. Don't just forget about them. Okay. Forgetting about them helps them forget about what the deal was. So highly recommend that you keep them informed, which helps keep them happy and updated on what the status is. Not getting all the required paperwork signed at closing that you may need later. This is where a checklist comes into play. We're going to talk about that during the workshop. You want to make sure that you get this stuff, especially from sellers that are distressed and it's just got them going off the deep end. Many of those types of sellers leave town. And guess what? When they leave town, they don't remember you, and they forget to give you a phone number change, give you an email change, an address change, or maybe they give it to you once and then they move again, or they lost their phone and get another phone. I mean, this is an important one right here, making sure that you have everything that you could potentially need at the time of closing. It still doesn't take the place of keeping open, frequent communications, because there are situations such as I had one of my subject twos have a fire in it. My seller moved to Okinawa, Japan. Long way away. Fortunately, I had open communications with him, email and cell phone, and a good relationship. And the renters I had in this house had a dryer fire in the upstairs laundry room. And even though I had a third-party authorization document signed by my sellers, Chase Mortgage wouldn't accept that third party. So I had to go get the Chase third-party authorization signed and sent to him and get him to sign off on it. So if that seller would have disappeared and not kept me posted with good, email and phone number, I might have had a problem with that. Okay. But having all these documents and having exit strategies and communication plans and stuff is very critical doing these kind of deals. This kind of goes to the same point. If you can't communicate with the seller when you need their help, you may lose some sleep. And that fire situation could have been a big problem for me. So, yeah, you've got to be able to communicate. You've got to get them to understand that. And again, that's where, an uncooperative seller, when you detect that up front, if they're fighting you every tooth and nail all along the way and don't want to give you information, that may be a seller you don't want to deal with. Not on a subject to deal, that is. Remember, there is no due on sale jail. Okay? No due on sale jail. And that means that just because the due on sale clause is in the mortgage, it doesn't make this transaction an illegal transaction. The HUD-1 settlement statement's got a line item right on it, taken over subject to on that mortgage balance. It does not make this type of transaction illegal. Otherwise, title companies would not close these deals. So just keep that in mind. The trick here for you is to understand the rules and regulations and the process and procedures, and have a system in place to deal with your sellers, your buyers, your renters, and the lenders. So, and have the right documentation. Again, details, systems are all important. Checklists are all important in these types of transactions. What not to do? Well, this is, to me, this is just as important as everything else that we've already covered, is the things not to do. It's kind of like going out to teach. I just got done teaching my 16-year-old granddaughter, which is hard to believe. She's 16 already. Just taught her how to drive. And all the things that we taught her that's good to do, we taught her a few things not to do, right? So that's just as important when you're buying houses subject to. Do not sell with owner financing without setting up an escrow account and use a third-party servicing company such as August REI. Do not, I'm telling you this because my experience, do not sell without having an escrowed account. Now, many of the mortgages you're going to take over are going to be escrowed today because a lot of mortgage companies require it today. But if you come across one that's not, then you want to make sure that August REI or whatever third-party servicing company you use, make sure they establish, create, and manage that escrow account so that they're never late on taxes and insurance. If you leave that up to the seller, many times if they have problems, they're not telling you, but they're not saving the money, so that when it's time to pay the insurance and taxes, you know, they don't have the money. So this is definitely a what not to do item for me. Always have an escrow account established for these type of deals. Do not wholesale or assign a subject to contract. This is just my preference. This is me. I protect my reputation. If you go read anything about my company and the things that we do, you'll see all the testimonials and reviews. You know, we do what we say we're going to do. I like to stay in control. And if I'm assigning a sub-2 deal to somebody, I'm no longer in control of what I told the seller. So even if I look at buying a sub-2 contract, I go back and I want to renegotiate everything with the seller. I want to tell them what I will do for them in that scenario, and not talk about not try and live up to what the investor that's trying to assign it to me. I don't try and go by his contract. I want my contract. I want my word to the seller on what I'm going to do so they understand it. I hope that makes sense. It's a very personal thing for me. Do not assume anything, trust, but verify what the sellers are telling you, okay? Just because their lips are moving doesn't mean it's true. And when I was a Marine Corps recruiter, we used to have this saying, if their lips are moving, they're lying, okay? Always trust, but verify. You want to see that mortgage statement, but you want to be on the phone doing that verification with the current mortgage balance, how many payments are missing, you know, in arrears, the total amount due, so on and so forth, so that you have the facts. Don't go by what they're telling you. That's very critical when you're talking about sub-2 deals, and in particular, pre-foreclosure type deals. You have to have that information. Never promise something you can't control, okay? And, you know, I've said it several times, you know, you don't want to overpromise. You can't promise them it's going to be paid off in a year unless you're wealthy and have the cash. Don't promise them, you know, 5 years. You got to have a story. What is your business model? How do you handle getting these types of deals paid off? How do you make the payments until the time comes that it is paid off? How do you do that? Do not tell them it's going to be done next month, next year, just because they're pushy and want it paid off. Don't do that, okay? Also, if it's in arrears, make it clear when you intend to be able to bring those payments current. Is it going to foreclosure if you don't find a buyer? You know, don't mislead them and tell them you're going to bring the payments current and then you let it go to foreclosure. You have to be clear what you're doing, make sure they understand it. You might even go as far as making them repeat it back to you so you know for a fact they understand what you are trying to do for them. Don't ignore the sellers, the insurance company, or the lenders if there are any issues. I can tell you that insurance is one of the bigger things that can trip you up if it's not done correctly. I've even seen twice, actually, I've seen where we'll be 2, 3, 4 years into a deal and we had insurance set up correctly. Everything's been fine. And then they go and send the new evidence of insurance page to the lender and to the escrow department to renew it. And they filled it out wrong the next time they submitted it. So it can be the thing that will cause you to have to get involved. It can be a thing that may trigger that due on sale clause and have them send out a letter saying, hey, we noticed your deed is no longer in your name. But it's something that you have to get fixed. It's important, absolutely crucial. When you hear Dave Burdick talk about this on 8 August, exactly how the evidence of insurance gets filled out so that it doesn't raise any red flags. No, for the new folks on this call, no, you cannot just continue using the current insurance policy that's in place. You cannot do that because now if you're the owner, if you are keeping the house as a rental property, you're not insured. If you sell that to a new buyer, your buyer's not insured if you keep that policy in the seller's name. You cannot do it. But the policy, there's a certain way you have to fill out that policy that makes it very critical to be done correctly so that you don't have a problem. Okay, don't forget what you told the seller you'll do for them. This is where you might put this in writing. Exactly what the deal is all about. Summarize it, put as much detail in there as needed, but don't you forget what you said you would do. You know, it's not just about the seller, but you as well. You need to remember, be specific. I document everything. For those of you that know me, I use a system called RealFlow. So I've been on that system for 10 years. I'm going to be doing a class on RealFlow on the 26th of August, by the way, so you can see what it looks like. But that system allows me to document every conversation I have, every piece of paper that we create, every phone call we have. We can document it all in that system. And I would encourage you to do that same thing. If you're not that kind of a person today, whether it's RealFlow or some other system, be sure you have a way to document that, kind of like a diary, so to speak. Okay, and then the next one is, if you're buying in a land trust, be sure you complete all your land trust documents. We will not have time to talk about this other than mention it here and there in the workshop, but I'm going to have a link for you if you decide you want to go pursue education and documents. I'll have that. We use land trust on all of our subject to deals. It's another whole course in itself on how to use trust documents for asset protection and asset anonymity. Very important, but you don't have to use it. It's just another way of protecting what you do by and keeping your name off public records. Okay, closing subject to deals. This is something that I'm kind of proud of. In 20 years, I've never had a deal go south on me at closing. I know there's a lot of investors that do. And, you know, I've talked to Martin Garcia at Simplified Title about this too. And of course, he sees a lot of deals go south and fall apart at closing. And it's a lot of times it's because the sellers don't understand the deal. They're not getting what they thought they were getting. The numbers may not be what they thought they were, so on and so forth. I am very careful at briefing all of our sellers as to what we're doing, how we're doing it, what to expect at closing, and so forth. So very important, and Martin will talk some about this too, but it is very, very important. Do not expect the title company to explain your deal. They didn't make the deal. Okay? All they can do is go by the contract that was given to them. So, you know, we've been using Simplified Title for several years. As a matter of fact, we just posted a new video on the sponsors page for Simplified Title, and we're going to be doing new sponsors videos for everybody in the group that you may want to go check out, and so you can learn a little bit more about the sponsors. And I did a short little Q&A session, interview, so to speak, with them. So you might want to go watch that. It's on the sponsors page of the West DFW REI Group. But anyhow, very, very important that you brief the sellers on what to expect. Do not expect the title company to explain the deal. Simplified Title will close all your subject to deals. Not all title companies are created equal. I've been saying this for years. That's why we use Simplified Title. I've done a lot of deals, different title companies, and they say, oh yeah, we'll do those. And then they'll do one or two, and then they say, oh, we can't do those anymore. Well, I've been doing these with Martin now for years. So keep that in mind. This is an investor-friendly title company. They will also insure your subject to deals, which is not true with all title companies. So be sure you think about that when you're closing your deals, is call and ask for Martin. I will tell you that one of the things Martin said in his new sponsors video is that he has trained his team to act as though they're Martin. So you don't always get to talk to Martin, so his team can answer the same questions that he'll answer for you because of how he's trained them. But they all will close your subject to deals for you, and they will close them in a land trust as well. Again, not all title companies are created equal. I know several on this call are well aware of that. They use different title companies, different parts of the state. They're not all the same. Setting expectations for success. I've kind of alluded to this a couple of times throughout the presentation. I'm a big believer in explaining full disclosure of what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it, and just double checking. I mean, I go back over the deal several times with my customers so that we don't lose deals. I lose deals at the time we sit down and sign a contract in my office, but I'd much rather lose them there than once we've signed that contract. And, you know, that's still part of the negotiation phase, you know, in my opinion, when you're going through all those contracts and signing everything and just making sure everybody understands. And I do that in great detail when I'm having a contract signed. Again, I don't want it to fail at the closing table. From the time you sign that contract, there's a lot of work and effort and planning going into a deal. So I don't want it to fail once we sign on the dotted line or the solid line on the contract. So again, just be clear so that there's no issues. Be clear on what your company is going to do for the sellers, okay? Make it clear. Don't hesitate. Don't beat around the bush. Make them repeat it back to you. Under promise and over deliver. Okay. Do you think if you've kind of indicated, 3 to 5 years or more on getting a loan paid off, and then you pay it off in 2, you think they're going to be excited? Okay. It can happen. A lot depends on your buyer too. Now, if your exit strategy is to sell it on owner finance or to flip it, it could happen really quick. But if you haven't promised when it's going to be, then they're going to be really excited. So under promise, over deliver. Don't tap dance around the question, when will the mortgage be paid off and be freed up? Again, I've said it several times. I can't say this enough either about the communications. They have to be keep in touch with you. This will make a difference. If you start off with some periodic communications with them, that's going to kind of set the tone with them, and instead of waiting for 3 years before you ever talk to them, then they may not talk to you because maybe they've changed cell phones or emails. So keep that in mind. Start off with a thank you very much for your business. We appreciate it. We'll keep you posted along the way. Maybe find out what their birthdays are. Send them a birthday note, a Christmas note, so on and so forth. Document all that stuff. Put it in RealFlow. Put it in whatever tool you're using to track the stuff. Put it on the calendar reminder. I'm big on using technology to remind me on things that I need to do. That's another way to do it. Whether it's Outlook or Apple Calendar or Asana, whatever it is, use some way to track what you're doing. You think this is important? Prepare them for the worst case. What's your exit strategy? What's your plan? What if there's a fire? What if your buyers default? What if and this is a real story. This happened to me. I sold one of my subject to deals to a owner finance buyer that was a husband and wife set of real estate attorneys. Now, before you start saying, what, you sold to a real estate attorney? I knew that I shouldn't have. My attorney would have choked me had he known that I was about to do this, but I felt really comfortable with him. But anyhow, husband and wife set of real estate attorneys. They were in it about a year. They got divorced. In the meantime, they destroyed the house. I mean, the big dogs, mud, scratched up the doors, mud all over the place, tore up the brand new carpet, so on and so forth. But the good thing was they agreed to a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So it was quick. I got possession of it, within a week or so. So I got it fixed up back on the market. But you need to be able to tell your your sellers, what exactly are you going to do in a situation like that? Now, I would have never thought to tell them what I would do in the case of COVID-19 hits, because it wasn't something we ever had happen before, right? So just have some idea of what to explain to them. I'm telling you all these things so that you can learn from what I've learned over the years. And I had to make a lot of this stuff up, and figure it out along the way. But highly recommend that you prepare them for the worst case. What if do you have to start all over again? You know, your crystal ball can't forecast these kinds of things. You don't have control over market crashes or divorces or job market, you know, so on and so forth. So just, you know, give them an idea of what you're going to do in that kind of a case. Okay, we're just about here wrapping it up. Okay, agenda for 8 August. So I'm still working on all this. We're going to get into some details here. Like I said, this is going to be a live call. I'm hoping we can do an open mic on this so that everybody can be talking and asking questions along the way, but we will have to mute if there's background noise and stuff. But we're going to be doing this on Zoom. We're going to get into the marketing strategies to find sellers, how to pre-screen sellers, what to ask for, what to look for. This is going to be important that you download. When you register, you're going to get a welcome email, and on there is going to be a link to Dropbox with several documents to download for you. There's going to be 2 different property information sheets in there that you can use. I use them both. It just depends. You can pick and choose which one you like the best, but they kind of guide you through all the different data fields that you need to help you determine if you have a good deal. And these apply to any kind of deal, but they'll really help you with subject to deals. And if you have live deals, fill those out and bring them so that we can talk about what to ask and pre-screen these sellers so that you know what to look for and the kinds of things that's important to you when you're pre-screening them. We're going to talk about deal structuring strategies. So again, bring your deals. I'm going to have some of my own deals there that I've done to go over, and we'll have those up on the screen here. I would rather have real deals there so that we can go through your deals and help you. But if not, we'll go through mine and show you what I did in structuring those deals. We're going to go through some steps on how to successfully structure a subject to deal. One thing that I want to emphasize to you when you go and make your offer is you want to be able to listen carefully during your pre-screening process to find out what they think their problems are. And then when you structure your offer, it has to satisfy the problem that they think they have, okay? And you want to make sure that you identify that, you know, although this may not be what you were looking for, what this offer does do for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that it takes the debt off your back. It brings these payments current, you know, at some point, and so on and so forth. So you want to be able to present it in a fashion where your offer solves their problem. We're going to have real examples there. We're going to talk about your exit strategies based on the deal, based on the market, based on the condition, based on the numbers. We're going to talk about all the different exit strategies. This is going to be a good part of this because there's a lot of different things you can do, but a lot of it's based on the property itself, the market conditions, the condition of the property, the numbers on the property, all these different things. So not all exit strategies are going to work on all deals. And we'll talk about that. How to set up the insurance correctly. We've already talked about that. What happens in a claim. We'll talk about that as well. Dave Burdick will be talking to you about that, and we'll have some live cases there, real cases. How to communicate with a mortgage company after the purchase. I've had to do it several times, and we'll talk about what I did to get through that successfully. We're going to talk about different documents and forms that are needed. I'm currently working on a list of those documents. You have in your welcome message when you register, I believe the Dropbox link is giving you free, 4 forms initially as part of the welcome package. So you'll get those, and then I'm going to have some other things that you'll receive at the class. And then there's going to be a forms package that is going to be a bunch of other stuff that you could buy. Those will be available for purchase on the group site. Those will be extra things unless you already have them yourself. So we'll go through all these documents required. We're going to talk a lot about communications with both buyers and sellers. And then we'll get into more detail on the closing day and how to ensure that it closes. And then testimonials and reviews. We'll talk about some ways I suggest that you go try and get these. You should start today, by the way, with anybody you're dealing with, but I'll give you some ideas on how to go about doing this at the workshop. And then asset protection, land trust. Again, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but it's not going to be much because we just are not going to have the time to get into that. The last class that we did about a year ago, it was a full 9 to 5 o'clock class, and we had no extra time whatsoever. So a lot of it's going to depend on, and I'm trying to fit in more this time with these live examples, real contracts. We're going to go in and review them. And I'm hoping you will I'm hoping you will bring your own deals that we can discuss with the class to help you structure those deals. Okay, what to expect on the 8th of August. I'm going to spill my guts as much as possible to help you be successful. I've got 20 years of doing these subject to deals. I'm going to tell you as much as I can tell you in the day until you quit listening, okay? You'll get priceless information about all aspects of locating, pre-screening, evaluating, and what makes a good deal and a bad deal and making offers. By the way, I'm also going to caveat that statement by saying that I don't know it all. I mean, even though I've been doing this 20 years, people always want to ask me, what's the standard deal? Okay. Well, the standard deal is they're all unique. I'm hoping that I can teach you enough to be able to react and evaluate the situation and be able to be creative and come up with a solution that's going to work for you and the seller. There is no way I could ever teach you every scenario because I don't know what it is. I mean, it's not uncommon to come across some unique thing that makes the deal a little bit different. So every deal is unique in itself. The seller's unique, the house is unique, the finances are unique, the market's unique. With COVID-19 is a prime example. There's a lot of things you need to consider for exit strategies with COVID going on. And I just, I'm going to teach you as much as I can about all these different things and how to think about them. Online access to critical forms and success upon completion. We're going to give you certain forms that are going to be available to you as part of this class. You're going to have the audio recording. So last year, we did not make the audio and video available as part of the class. So that's a huge extra for you. I don't know why I left the video question mark on there, but you will get both audio and video of this workshop. It'll be uploaded on the group website within a couple of days, but that'll be available to you for the whole class as well as the presentation. You're going to be tired but excited. So you're going to need a good night's sleep and make sure you eat your Wheaties the night before because you are going to need it. I do want to tell you this, it's not part of my presentation, but for those of you that plan to attend the workshop, as well as this goes for any kind of webinar type calls like these, for the best chances of success and quality video for you and audio, be sure you reboot your computer before the event starts a little bit early, and then turn off any unnecessary programs you don't need that may be taking up bandwidth and computer processing speed, such as antivirus programs. Skype is a big memory hog. Turn that kind of stuff off because it does take bandwidth and computer processor bandwidth. So it has an impact in the quality of your call. So just a recommendation for you to have a better result in the video. Okay. Critical forms, I'm still working on this, but some of the things that I know you're getting is the property information sheets. You're going to get those when you register. That'll be in that welcome email and Dropbox link that I sent you, or I will send you when you register. You also get a letter of agreement, an addendum that will be very important to you doing sub-2 deals. This one here is a biggie. Seller's acknowledgement. And remember, I keep telling you about making sure the seller understands the deal. Well, a lot of what you're talking about is in this seller's acknowledgement subject to purchase document. And they're going to read it. They're going to initial by each of the different statements, and they're going to sign it. So you will have a document. Whether you want to give them something more detailed and summarizing things is up to you, but you'll see what I'm talking about. This is going to be a key document in your subject to document package. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm giving you our brand new subject to purchase contract for escrow deals and our subject to purchase not escrowed contracts that we've been working on for years. And I'm putting that in this class included in the price. This is a contract that I've been working on with my attorney for probably now 5 or 6 years. And I keep refining it and refining it and refining it. But I'm including this in the class, and you will get this at the class. So this, you'll be using the document that we use. Okay, very detailed. A lot of work has gone into this to make this an effective purchase contract. We're also going to give you the list of items you need from the seller. So in preparation for signing the contract and closing, there's certain things that you're going to want to make sure you ask for. Remember that a lot of sellers are leaving town, when they sell the house to you. So you want to make sure you gather this stuff ahead of time. And that's what this checklist is going to help you do. Notice the underlying lien not being paid off. We're going to get into this in detail in the class. This is a very, 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 very important document that you have signed by the seller and by you. And then as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have this link available to you. I'm going to confirm this is still a valid link, and we'll give you this in the class too. So I'll confirm that this is still the link that works. Okay. So I'm going to not show this because I did not update this. So I'm going to refer to the website, because if you go over here to our web page, this has, I'm going to show you here real quick. If you'll just go to the group page and okay, so on the group page, if you click on calendar and all day workshop, and then scroll all the way to the bottom, it has all the pricing right here, and it has everything. The discounted prices end midnight on the 1st. So go click on those, go check them out and get registered. I realize that some people don't want to pay for classes, but this is something that there's too much work gone into this thing to do this for free. When you think about it, it's peanuts when you consider you're able to leverage other people's money and be able to buy houses and make thousands of dollars because you invested in yourself and you have the knowledge to know how to go structure these deals. I've never had a complaint about this class. People enjoy it. They get so much out of it. It gives you such a powerful tool in your real estate investor tool belt that you can go help so many different people. So many people. But I also will tell you that this is a topic, this is a strategy that you do not want to go out and do without having your ducks in a row and have the right power team in place and know all, you know, have all the right documentation and know how to do it safely and correctly for both you and the seller. So please consider it. If you're interested, go get signed up before the 1st. The prices go up after the 1st. And I look forward to seeing you on the call on the 8th of August. With that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the share, and then Pam, go ahead and unmute everybody, and let's take any questions. If you have a lot of noise in the background, please keep yourself muted. But otherwise, let's go ahead and unmute everybody, and let's take any questions one at a time, please. And I'll be happy to answer whatever questions I can on this call. Go ahead. Somebody have a question?
I have a question. This is Camithia Perez. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is there ever a situation when you're doing a subject to that the seller wants to remain in the property? Like, is that possible?
So I'm going to tell you that there's probably, well, I know there is times when people want to do that. But here's my perspective on it. And some states have implemented laws that prevent that from happening because of the scam artists out there, other real estate investors that make a bad name for us. But look at it like this, regardless of whether there's a law or not. If they're in the house today and they can't make the payments, what makes you think they're going to make the payments once you take ownership and now you're responsible for paying for things? Okay. So let's say they start off with good intentions. They're making payments to you. You've left them in there. And let's say a year later, all of a sudden they're having trouble. And now you end up in court. What's that going to look like when you end up standing in front of the judge and the sellers, even though you were helping them take care of the default and protect their credit and avoid the foreclosure, now all of a sudden they're not paying the payments again, but they're going to go in and tell the judge that you stole my house. You convinced me that, you know, I should deed you my house and you would take care of it and let me rent there. And now you're kicking me out. How's that going to look to the judge? Do you want that kind of a headache? I think not, Camithia. And think about that seriously. If they can't afford the house today, what makes you think that they're going to afford it in the future? And not only that, if they couldn't, let's say the payment's $1,500. Well, in order for Camithia to make any money, she's got to raise the payment. You know, needs to make $1,700, $1,800, $1,900, you know, whatever it is. But, you know, so there's just no, to me, there's no good way to do that deal. It needs to be clean. You need to just maybe help them find another home. But my recommendation is don't leave them in that house. Did that help?
Yes, thank you very much.
Did it make sense?
Oh yes, it makes a lot of sense. I was just, my husband and I were talking about the subject too, and that was one of his biggest questions. Like, can't you just let the person stay in the house? Wouldn't that be easier for you? And I was like, I don't ever hear Tim talking about that, but I'll ask. So
I have never ever done it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you.
I don't, that's a question I'd have to ask Martin Garcia. I don't think Texas ever implemented that law to make that illegal. I'd have to follow up on that, but I never paid any attention to it just because I won't ever do it. Okay, who's next? Come on, somebody's got to have some good questions for me. Nobody? Did I really do that good a job that nobody has questions? I find that hard to believe.
Hey, Tim, this is Anthony.
Hey, Anthony, how are you?
Doing good. Not really a question, but maybe something that everybody might want to know. What is the difference between subject to and owner financing?
So, owner finance, subject to is where you are taking ownership of the property, getting that deed, but you're not assuming the legal responsibility of that mortgage. And where Anthony is going with that is where owner finance is like if you went and borrowed money, bought a house through Wells Fargo, then you're getting the deed to that property as the owner, but you have a lender there that you have a deed of trust with that you are committing to, you are obligating yourself to make those payments to the lender, and that deed of trust spells out those terms in which you're going to do that, and it's against your personal credit. So at that point, when they could, if you didn't pay the payment, they could foreclose on you. That foreclosure goes in against your personal credit, and you lose that house. Now, that's not the type of explanation that an attorney would tell you, or a lender, but that's just my simple terms of explaining the difference. So the sub 2, you don't have the obligation to pay that mortgage payment, but you, with a owner finance note, you would. Does that close, Anthony, for what you're after?
It's you get all kinds of different answers across the board from owner financing and subject to. So
Yep.
yeah, that's part of what I look at it from that also. One other thing that it is, let's say that it's $100,000 house and they owe $20,000, but they want 70 from it. That works. If they take the note on that one and you agreed to pay the note, the underlying note, and them, that has also been considered owner financing.
Yes. Agreed. Okay. Who else? What else you got? Somebody's got to have more questions.
Yeah, I got something, Tim. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can.
Okay. When you buy your property sub 2, do you get title insurance at that time, or just when you wrap it?
No, we've been getting title insurance when we buy them. That's
Okay.
where closing it with simplified title, they can take care of that for you.
Okay.
Now you're down in San Antonio, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Simplified title will close your deals down there if you're interested in talking to them.
Okay.
Hey, Tim, this is Anthony again. And another question, just to kind of piggyback on that one. What if there's existing liens that you're going to take subject to? Will they still close that and insure it?
I'd have to ask Martin about that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while since I had a sub 2 deal with multiple liens on it. So I'm not sure that I've closed a deal with him like that. I'll make that note and ask. See, as I mentioned earlier, there's so many different scenarios. But the thing that I hope you get out of the class in these types of events is that you find the people that can answer the questions for you. So having that power team to refer to and be able to ask the right questions. All right, who's next?
Hello, Tim. This is Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. I don't know if you can answer this question at this time or not. Do individuals ever place their primary residence in a land trust? And if so, why would they do that?
So the answer is yes. A lot of people do it. And the main reason you do it is for anonymity, to keep your personal name off public records. That's all it's really for.
Okay.
There's no tax advantages or anything for doing that. You can still, you can still get your tax credit with your local tax authority and stuff if it's in a trust, but you have to typically go down there and tell them you put it in a trust.
Okay.
But that's really the main purpose for a trust, is just to not have your personal name on public records.
Yeah. Okay. I have one other question.
Okay.
What is a hard money lender, and why would I use one?
So that's unrelated to subject to class here, but it's a pretty easy answer. In this business, I assume you're new, Tom?
Yes.
Okay. So in this business, you have, of course, your conventional lenders, Wells Fargo, Bank of America kind of lenders. You have private money lenders, which is just other people like you and I that have money that lend to people to help each other and make money and so forth, but also hard money lenders. Well, hard money lenders are much stricter, much more expensive, but they serve a very good purpose in this business. If you're brand new in the business, you don't have the money to go close on a deal, then they typically will be asset-based, meaning they'll lend against the house at some percentage. You can get 60, 70, 80% of the value of that property, but you're going to pay a premium on the interest rate in many cases. Now, they're all different. We have one in the group that I highly recommend that you go talk to. Let me go back over to the group page. We have Longhorn Investments, but they have some very competitive rates here for you to work with, and much better than a lot of other places. So if you come over here over here under the group page to resources, click on the group sponsors right here and scroll down here to Longhorn Investments. Reach out to Ryan and let him explain all the different programs, but they have a very good program that allows you to borrow the money against the property, and they have certain criteria. You can't, this isn't a long-term loan. This is going to be short-term based on the deal that you have, and it's going to be short-term, and you're going to pay points at the time you purchase it, and then you'll have a higher interest rate, and it's going to have a very short time. It's usually used for buying, rehabbing, and flipping a house.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
It's not meant to buy long-term rental properties. He has a very good rental program on the way you can do that, but it's not intended for you to stay in that loan long-term because it's a higher interest rate loan.
Okay.
Make
Thank
sense?
you.
Did that help, Tom?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Who's next? Mark, you're awful quiet there. Well, you might have left the call. No, you're still there.
Hello, this is Cynthia
Hi,
again,
Cynthia.
Maldonado.
Yes.
So I have, when you were going over the great good deals and the subject to, I didn't quite understand when you say that it's property that has one or more mortgages, possibly over leverage it. So can you explain a little bit more about that possibly over leverage? What it means?
Sure. So let's take a house that is worth what we think is worth 200,000, and whether it's one mortgage, two mortgages on it, and let's say they owe 190. Well, or let's say they owe 200 and it's worth 200. Maybe from the time they moved in, the market value went down, whether it's a market condition or maybe they just wore it out, tore it up. I've had people destroy houses in 4 months. But it's a matter of, what is it worth the deal to you? I mean, typically a wholesaler, let's say on $100,000 house, a wholesaler is going to want that house at 70,000 minus whatever the repair costs are for the max allowable offer. But on sub 2 deals, I mean, what do you want to be a good deal for you? Is if you take that same $100,000 house, if somebody owes 95,000, would you call that over leveraged? Especially if they needed 10,000 in repairs. That's what I would call over leveraged. They owe more than it's worth, and especially considering the repair costs too.
Okay, got it then.
Did
Thank
that
you.
help?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody on this call that would take that $100,000 house for say 95,000? Anybody? Anthony, you wouldn't take it?
I'm just getting ready to comment in. What are the payments?
I don't know. It wasn't a real deal, but for me, the way I look at this, it was kind of a trick question. For me, I would go look at that house as a subject to deal. And the reason I would is because I would write the offer so that I can't lose any money on it, meaning I would write it as an option and I would go raise the price. Remember, when you offer a home on owner financing, it makes it worth more money than what it is on the retail market. So that $100,000 house to a retail market, I might be able to get 115 to 120 out of it as an owner finance, to an owner finance buyer. And many times those owner finance buyers, they want to do the work themselves in that house. So now where I started with only 5,000 in equity, because they owe 95, I just created 20,000 more. So now I got 25,000 in equity in that house. So
Agreed.
I
go look at it.
If I structured that deal correctly, if I set it up as an option and the seller was motivated to work with me on that, I'd go after that all day long.
Agreed.
So that's where I was going with that comment is, I mean, there's just a lot of opportunities. We're going to talk about some of that in the workshop, but there's a lot of opportunities out there to help a lot of people that, the retail market's not going to help, because that same seller is not going to have enough money without coming out of pocket to sell it conventionally. There's not going to be enough equity in the house to pay realtors commissions and closing costs. All right, what's next? Anybody else have more questions, or are we done?
Yeah, this is Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, quick question. I may have missed because I jumped on a little late. But when it comes to finding these subject to deals, is there I guess, a database that you guys use? And this may be in the workshop, and this may be show you how to find these deals out there.
Yes, that is one of the topics of the workshop, is marketing and finding subject to type deals. We did not get into it here, but you know, most people think of sub 2 deals as your pre-foreclosure type deals. So you can go buy a pre-foreclosure list, but you can also, for all of our members of the group, if you subscribe to the free comps tool with MLS Deal Finder, with Fast CMA, that gives you real comps, MLS comps, and you can pay. When you subscribe to that, there is a paid upgrade if you choose to receive leads, but they give you real-time leads every day in your email for pre-foreclosure type leads. It actually give you about 10 different types of leads. One of them's pre-foreclosure. So you're getting fresh pre-foreclosure leads every day, 6 days a week, actually. Those are a good source for these type of deals.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. What else? Okay. Well, if nobody else has any questions, I hope this was helpful to you. I hope that you learned a lot. Like I said, I do this class periodically. I appreciate everybody coming on here, and hopefully you'll enjoy this enough where you'll go get signed up on the 8 August calendar event, and you'll come to the class itself. It's going to be a good event. You will not go away disappointed, because we're going to have so much to talk about. I'm working on the forums package and add more content to my presentation that I go through. Every year it gets bigger and better, but this is a cool strategy that I think everybody needs in their toolbox, especially during times like this pandemic that we're going through. I've never seen anything like it. Hopefully we never see anything like it again. But with that, I'm offer up one more time any last minute questions. Thank you, Frank. I see the applause. I appreciate that. And anything else, anyone? All righty. Have a great day. Everybody stay safe out there. Not only for yourself, but also keep all your sellers and buyers safe as well. And we'll see you soon. Have a great day.